Want to go on an adventure, boy? Get your leash. Get me your leash. Oh, yes. Do you want to go on an adventure? Get me your leash. Get the leash. Oh, good boy. Okay, sit. Sit down. Oh, I know. Sit down. Sit. Now give me high five. Oh, you're excited, huh, boy? Give me high five again. And a kiss. Oh. We interrupt Rockin' Willie's Rockabilly Hot Rod Hour to bring you an important weather bulletin. There is a weather system moving into western Newfoundland. And hang on to your toques, folks, because that weather is finally going to come. We're looking at about 70 millimeters of snow. So hunker down and hang tight. Well, that only gives us a couple hours. We better hurry. Welcome to the show. And today we got a special guest, Kid Mirka. The offspring of the dreaded Mirka, or Yeti. This lad is only 13 years old. Look at the size of him. You know, has a Sasquatch blood running through his veins. Anyway, we're getting down cryptid style today here on Sheen Au Naturel. I'm your host, Old Sheen. With me, as always, is Whiskey Boy. And we're joined today again by our very special guest, Kid Mirka, a.k.a. Log Dizzle, a.k.a. Kuya Logan. So today we're going to cover some stuff now. What we did is something different. We're in a scenario. So in this scenario, he and I, a couple of friends, went out for a drive on a logging road. We seen a cut line and it looked like a trail, and so we went and explored. Now today we know a few things. Before we left the car, there was a huge weather announcement. So we're going to be looking at winter storm situation very soon. We've wandered out into the forest, followed that trail till it turned into a moose lead, and now we're lost. We don't know what to do. We're out in the woods and we got very little with us. We weren't prepared for an overnight. We were just prepared to go for a little hike, and now we're in a survival situation. So we left the car. We didn't have much with us. A couple of cups. Enjoyed our coffee. So the good news is we got a bit of energy to start, and that's basically all we got. So we're going to work with what we got and create a comfortable situation. So the first thing you got to do is assess what's around you. So right now we followed this moose lead. It led to water, which pretty obvious if you find where a moose is bedding down. Probably water close by. So we've got water. We've got this big open field. So if anyone comes looking for us, if we strike up a fire in a situation like this, they'll probably pick it out pretty quick. Just some tree cover around, but we're going to need shelter. There's a winter storm coming. Very lot of snow. Lots of snow coming. So We got to assess the situation, and we're going to get down to it right away.
Yep.
Right on. First step we're going to need to do is assess what we have around us, what we got to work with. So let's get right to it. Right, Whiskey Boy?
All right. What about this area over here? This can make a good shelter. It's a uprooted tree. The root system of the tree is right here. They make for a good crawl space to get into. Keep you warm. Instance of emergency.
Oh yeah, that looks cozy actually.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to get down to business. We're going to need, the first thing we're going to need to do before we get this shelter going is we're going to have to find ourselves a couple of tools.
Yeah.
Now normally if you go in the woods with Kid Mirka or old Sheen pen, we're going to be prepared. But today we're pretending as if this is a survival scenario, just two friends out for a coffee and a walk. Now we're turned around lost and we got to prepare for the impending winter storm that's coming. Okay, so let's jump into action and find ourselves some tools.
Good thing about these, why we kept these cups, is we can gather water with them. I'm just going to put it right on this tree branch for now while I go get a tool. Stick over here might be strong enough.
So now that we got something to work with, I think what's important here now is that we get all of this tall grass and fire hazard out of here, because we're going to want to put a fire right in front of the camp.
Yeah.
That heat's going to bounce into the camp. We're going to need that when it starts snowing.
For sure.
Now while you're doing this, I'm going to go and start getting materials to put the camp up.
Yeah.
Because we're going to need to enclose it so that heat bounces in and doesn't just dissipate. So with that, let's go to work. We find ourselves in a situation in which we have to create some kind of a shelter. We don't have any tools except for, you know, the bare minimum. Right, Whiskey Boy? Sit. Oh yes, you're happy, huh? Yes. We're gonna be just fine, aren't we? Okay, so all I've got to work with is a piece of wood. This is a club, basically. And all I got is my brute force, and I'm going to use it to my advantage. So I'm going to put up a shelter with some logs. I'm going to lay them on a 45. That's going to be our roof. It's going to catch the heat from the fire and circulate it into our camp. But I'm going to have to fill in a lot of gaps. Now, we don't have a lot to work with, but the good thing about this area is there's a lot of fallen trees already. A lot that are in rot, so I should be able to maintain, or I should be able to acquire a good bit of building material just with the help of another log. Like I say, I'm going to do it with some brute force. So as you see right here, this is a rotten tree. And in a survival situation, anything I can use to fill in the gaps is going to help. So all of this is good material, even though it's rotten. But the good news is, being that it's rotten, it's easy to break. It's easy to acquire this material, and we're going to need it. We're going to need all we can find.
Watch out, Whiskey.
So this is good filler, but now I'm going to need to find some roof trusses. So I'm looking for long logs, slender, something I can carry and not use up too much energy. Remember, we're only running on a cup of coffee each. So after we get this shelter in place, get a fire going, we really need to conserve what energy we do have left. Good boy.
Really rotten wood.
So the cross member on the roof, it's good, but it needs to be stable in order to hold up the weight of extra limbs. So how I'm going to reinforce that, if I was prepared, which you absolutely should be, I would have rope or some kind of fastener. I don't have anything, so I'm going to use what I got in nature. Now I found this tree. You could see how it's grown into this area. It's kind of like a cradle, or that's what I'm going to make it. It's going to be a cradle for the top of our shelter. So when I start piling limbs and stuff on the top to hold in the heat, that old branch is not going to hold. So we're going to let this do the trick. Now I'm going to leverage that in underneath the branch, in underneath our cross member. So it's going to cradle the top right here. Now it's going to give us some added stability. Sit, Whiskey. Whoa, what has Kid Mirka got for you?
Sit down. Good boy.
So when you're in a survival situation, you got whatever's in your pockets. So we got a little beef jerky here. That you would ration that, and you probably wouldn't give it to the dog. They're good at finding their own food in these situations. But as it is simulated, we're okay to enjoy a little beef jerky with our buddy. Get him over there away from the fire, please.
Come on. Over here. Right here. Good boy.
So we made the most of a bad situation. We went out on a nice leisurely walk, got ourselves lost, have no idea where to go from here. We know weather's coming. There's going to be a winter storm coming. So in knowing that, we've done our best. We conserved our energy in that we used it to build this shelter, get fire prepared. We've got some firewood for the night. We're going to hunker down. This is not ideal, but it's going to keep us warm. We get a fire going here, that heat's going to radiate into our shelter, and the two of us, along with our buddy Whiskey, are going to curl up inside here and wait out the storm.
Come over here.
It's cool that we're in a grassland because we can use this hay. Now that we got a shelter built and our fire built, now we can start looking at the comfort in our shelter. So take some of this hay, put it inside. Some of the boughs above, if we had more boughs, we could put those in there too. Basically level some of the dirt, put in something to keep us off the ground. That's pretty key because the ground is cold at this point. But we were smart to hang on to our coffee cups.
Yeah.
We filled them in the river. Now we got some water to drink at least, and that's important. Oh yeah. So
Refreshing.
it certainly is. Now that we've got the most important things out of the way, and we're going to light up this fire, get ourselves organized for the evening. Another cool thing about the grasslands, all this hay is very good tinder, and what we did was we broke off branches off the rotten trees, and there's a lot around, so these are all dry to the core, and they make good kindling. We get ourselves a nice little fire positioned appropriately in front of our camp. Now we're going to have all the comforts of home. Well, maybe not quite the comforts of home, but we're going to be comfortable. And we did it together. Thanks for joining me, Kid Mirka.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
And Whiskey Boy, as always. So remember, you're lost, you know there's weather coming. The last thing you want to do is try and find your way out. You're going to have to find a place to hunker down for the night. What we've done is we've found the best that we could hope for in this situation. It didn't take us long to put up a shelter, and it didn't take us long to build up some firewood for the night. We're going to want to keep this fire going all night. And if we have more time and more resources, you build a wall on the opposite side of the fire. That way when the heat deflects from the wall, it's bouncing back in. You see all this smoke going out? That's really an advantage too. So you keep a fire going, you got that smoke happening. Eventually people are going to know to come looking for you when you don't return home. And when the planes are out looking for you, they'll spot that smoke. So I hope you've gathered a bit of information from us. Remember, you can make do even with nothing. At least we had the cups, we were able to store some water. But all of this, we took these limbs down, a lot of it took a great amount of energy, so it was really an advantage that we were finishing our coffee as we found our spot. And I'll see you in the trails, or I'll see you next time on Sheen Au Naturel. Until then, you remember, old Sheen's gonna miss you.